Good afternoon. My name is Erin Fleming, and the title of my Chautauqua is, Will the Real Shakespeare Please Stand Up? Who was the true author of Shakespeare's famed plays and sonnets? Was it in fact William Shakespeare, or does the authorship belong to someone else? Over the years, scholars have developed causes for over 50 suitable candidates that may or may not have been responsible for writing the works attributed to William Shakespeare. However, we will be focusing on the debate between the Stratfordian theory and the Oxfordian theory. Scholars that support the Stratfordian theory believe William Shakespeare is the true and only author, while supporters of the Oxfordian theory believe Edward de Vere, the 17th Earl of Oxford, is to be held accountable for the authorship. William Shakespeare was the third child to be born to John and Mary Shakespeare on April 23, 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, Warwickshire. Stratfordian theorists developed their name from Shakespeare's birthplace. It has been assumed that Shakespeare attended a grammar school from the ages of 5 to 7. At the grammar school, Shakespeare would have learned Latin literature, classic history, Livy and Cicero's speeches, Plautus and Terence's comedies, Seneca's tragedies, and Virgil and Ovid's poetry. Both of these poets are frequently referred to in Shakespeare's early work, such as Love, Labour's Lost and As You Like It. Traditional scholars, all of whom agree that the Stratford man was the author, also differ over details. According to many scholars, it is possible that Edward de Vere, the Earl of Oxford, could have been responsible for the works attributed to William Shakespeare. Journalist and author Mark Anderson devoted more than a decade of his life to researching the life of Edward de Vere. Anderson wrote a book that is a historical biography of the man who has been claimed to have written Shakespeare's plays and sonnets. Anderson presents a detailed account of de Vere's life and provides a historical examination of the Elizabethan period from a different perspective. Anderson believes William Shakespeare was illiterate and could not have possibly written the works credited to him. However, the basic problem with Anderson's argument is that there is no evidence supporting the claim that Shakespeare was illiterate. Anderson's thesis is that Edward de Vere had all the qualities required to be the real Shakespeare, and I quote, "He was brilliant, much traveled, and splendid, but also good and noble. Good reason to stay away from the tawdry life of the stage in Elizabethan England, which, at the time, was torn by enough religious strife and political intrigue to keep a fellow busy by doing other things, making a front convenient." End quote. Anderson creates a circumstantial case for the Oxfordian position, as he admits there is no single piece of evidence that provides absolute proof, but the amount of evidence he does provide is convincing to most open-minded readers. Another Oxfordian theorist is local scholar Felicia Landry, a professor of theater history at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Landry tours the country giving speeches about the Earl of Oxford, being the true author of the works attributed to Shakespeare. According to Landry, and I quote, "Anonymous publication was the norm for authors of plays throughout the entire period. Roughly 80% of plays were published anonymously. It could be risky to publish things. There were no freedoms of speech, assembly, religion, or of the press as we know them. Writers in theater companies could, and occasionally did, run afoul of the authorities. It should not be surprising that some writers might have published under pseudonyms." End quote. In other words, logical disbelief is not enough to oust the man from Stratford-upon-Avon, and to this day, no overwhelming argument has been made for any other author. Shakespearean authorship skeptics are those who believe there is reasonable doubt about the established acknowledgement of the works to the businessman from Stratford. Otherwise, there's insignificant distinction between the two groups in the value placed on the author and his works. We all hold them in the highest regard, but disagree about who the author was. In conclusion, my personal opinion regarding the authorship of Shakespeare's work continues to belong with William Shakespeare, though there are many convincing arguments that persuade me to believe the authorship could belong to someone else. The basic problem with history proves there's not enough concrete evidence to fully support them. Thank you. Have a nice day.